Good evening and welcome to Tuesday Night Talking with Turts. My name's Craig Turton, or Turts. I'm your host, as I am every week. Welcome to episode 5. Tonight we are talking to a gentleman by the name of Lawrence Hayden. We will get to Lawrence in a minute. But I'm one of the proud co-founders of 100 Words Mate to Mate. 100 Words Mate to Mate is a men's health organisation trying to reduce the stigma of men's mental health in this country and trying to reduce the horrendous numbers of men who are taking their own life in this country, which is more than 6 a day, and that's something together we all need to change. Now, tonight, just so we get things nice and straight, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I'm, in fact, a house painter. So the reason I tell you that is, if anything tonight gets a little bit too much for you and you're feeling uneasy, there is always a number to ring, and that number is this, Lifeline, on 131114. Okay, there's always someone to call. Now, the other thing, what we are doing tonight, now as you jump on tonight, fill out this response here. How's your day out of 10? Now, that brings me to our campaign, Mate to Mate at 8. Now, what we want you to do as part of Mate to Mate at 8 is this. Call a mate and ask them how their day has been out of 10. Don't ring them up and say, "G'day, Tomo, how are you?" Not good enough. What you need to do is say, "Hey, Tomo, g'day, Tomo, how's your day been out of 10? Tomo will give you a number, and then you've got a much better indication on how he's actually travelling. Okay, so that's what tonight's all about. I've got 2 mates of mine on the call tonight, and that's what we're going to do. We're trying to mirror a conversation that we want you guys to have. Okay, so tonight, it's a real pleasure tonight. Now, we were supposed to have Lawrence on a couple of weeks ago, but he had to go in for elective surgery, and tonight, the commitment of the man is that he is joining us from his bedside in hospital, such as his dedication to come on. And tonight, Lawrence, what a CV. I read the CV a couple of weeks ago. 3-time premiership sports psychologist for the Carlton Football Club in 79, 81 and 82. Leader of their high performance, and he's a leadership guru. Now, he's also was the head psychologist for the Australia's winning the America's Cup. He was the man. Don't worry about the wing keel being the secret weapon. This man was a secret weapon, and we're going to chat to him tonight. We're also joined by specialist consultant Robin, and I welcome them both tonight. Let's get them up on the screen. Good evening, Robin.
Good evening. How you going?
I'm very, very well. Good evening to you, Lawrence.
I'm good, Craig. Thank you for such a great introduction.
Thank you both for joining me tonight. Lawrence, in particular, from the bedside of hospital, mate. That is showing some real courage.
Oh, yes. There's a little bit of pain going on here, I'm afraid.
You'll be right, mate. You're in a good spot there. Now, guys, as we do it, talking with Turts on a Tuesday night, first of all, Robin, to you, how was your day out of 10?
Oh, I'd go an 8 today. School's going back. That made the day infinitely wonderful.
And how's the last couple of weeks been with homeschooling?
I've been to work, so it's been great.
There you go. Excellent. What about yourself, Lawrence? How are you going out of 10 today, mate?
Yeah, about a 7. Had good progress in hydrotherapy, so I was quite pleased with myself. Very
good, very good. Now, tonight's all about an amazing offer that's being offered to 100 Words Mate to Mate members. So you'll remember if you've been to an event or you've logged on and watched any of our previous 4 shows. So I'm just going to get Robin to go through with you what the guys are offering tonight for all our members. Robin, over to you.
So what we're working with everybody towards is free mental health fitness, I guess you'd say, through the GP mental health plan program that is offered by Medicare. So we're offering you bulk billed psychology services with Lawrence, which sounds like it's difficult, and it's really not. So that gives you 10 50-minute sessions with Lawrence across 12 months to retrain your brain, improve your performance, or work out of a crisis situation if you are at that level, which we really hope you're not.
Now, this is the part of the telehealth program that the government are putting together, and they're now looking at extending that from 10 visits to 20 visits. Is that right?
That was discussed today, I noticed, on news television, so there is pressure on because they don't consider 10 sessions is enough, which I agree, it is not enough.
And also that it's at your discretion too, Lawrence, that it may be another 5 on top of that.
That's right. Yes, you can put back to the GP a short report recommending an extended care plan to give the patient another 5 sessions if they feel they need it.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
these sessions can be done over a series of months or weeks or days, whatever. I mean, if you want to use them in a compact base, that's fine. Or if you want to stretch them out over the calendar year. And the other thing, which is quite remarkable in the world, it is that amount of rebatable sessions, bulk billable sessions per calendar year for the rest of your life. There's no limits. You can come for 10, 15 sessions every year. And some of my patients do see me around about 5, 10, 15 sessions a year for 3 to 5 years.
So we could be talking about 1 session a month.
Yeah, that's it.
One a fortnight, one a month,
Yep.
whatever you need, whatever you
Based
feel
on
works
need.
for you.
Based on need. It is a mental health program. It's not a crisis centre and it's not crisis counselling. But on the basis of what I do and the way it affects the person's change in their lifestyle and what they do with themselves, the longer term program is often a better outcome for them.
Fantastic. Now, a mental health plan. Now, a lot of people might not know that this is available. What does someone need to do to get a mental health plan? And do you need to be someone who is at crisis point? Do you need to feel as though you have depression or anxiety, or can anyone do it?
Anyone can do it. So it is just an appointment with your GP. Most people have a GP they see, whether it's once a year for your flu shot or once a month for your medication or whatever. You can get a mental health plan from any GP. It doesn't have to be your regular GP. You also don't have to be in crisis. You could find that you want to improve your sports performance, you want to speak nicer to your wife, you want to deal with your kids a little bit better, manage stress, all those sorts of things. They're all things that are covered under the mental health plan program.
Its definition is focused psychological counselling for better outcomes. And that's as broad as you could expect it to be. That encompasses everything. From heavy clinical issues to just broad brush day-to-day lack of motivation and boredom issues.
That's really important because with what's going on at the moment and isolation, men particularly are feeling alone and lacking in confidence, and their emotions are just going through the roof. So that's a really important message to all our members and all men out there, that you don't need to be at crisis point to get a mental health plan by your GP. And how long do they normally take, Robin?
Depends on your GP. It's usually 20 to 40 minutes. Yep. They'll get you to fill out a little bit of paperwork. They might have a questionnaire to check depression levels or stress levels or something like that, depending on what you've gone to them with. And then they'll give you a referral to bring with you when you go to your appointment.
That's a self-assessment rating scale. The doctor doesn't give an opinion. You do.
Yeah, you're telling the doctor what you need. They're not telling you that you're an 11. That you're saying to them, this is where I'm at and this is what I need help with. And they'll give you the referral accordingly. And
there's no labelling. They don't put a title on your condition. They're not qualified to do that in psychiatry.
Okay, so you get your mental health plan, okay? And from there, what do we do from there, Robin?
Ring me.
Yep.
Ring the APS. You can try any psychologist you like, but we'd like you to come to us. Come and see Lawrence. So give me a call. I can make you the appointment over the phone. We'll make you an appointment. Lawrence works 5 days a week, usually from 1:40 till 10 o'clock at night. So there's usually a time that everybody can fit in. We'll book you an appointment. You come and see Lawrence, have your initial 50-minute visit. So that visit is bulk billed as part of your mental health plan. He will talk you through what he thinks
that's an initial
will work, and he will listen to you more than anything else.
You work through with me your situation, and that first session's just to give us some focus and to finalise some priorities that we continue to work on from then on.
That was going to be my question, Lawrence. Yeah, step us through what that initial consultation is.
Yeah, look, I'm a strong believer ever since I left high school and started teaching phys ed that people are individuals, and my first initial consultation with any person is very much about understanding the nature of that person as an individual. That did me well when I taught kids gymnastics and games and such, because the inspectors thought, gee, you're doing a good job. The kids can all do forward somersaults and trampolining and all that stuff. I didn't think that wasn't something everybody didn't do. But even now, I'm very much more focused on the individual than on the condition. And my interest is taking the person's history and then their present situation. I believe, as I have learned from my extensive experience in sports psychology, that monitoring behavioural effectiveness is a reflection of their state of mind. So the degree that you are effective in your daily living is a reflection of your state of mind and your general living more than anything else, because it's how you behave which reflects how you feel.
And Lawrence, talk us through the CBT theory that you've got too.
Yeah, well, that's the sessions that come beyond. When we come to a focused approach together to the priorities of the person out of the initial assessment that's conducted, and, we agree on those together, and the person informs me of priorities. And one of the things I do before we get to that final step in the first session is let them walk me through their day. Now, you're aware of this, Craig. What's the day like at the beginning, when you start, when you wake up, when you get out of bed, when you get in the car, when you're going to work. I want to know the state of mind of the person and the behavioural individual right through their day. And that leads me to then agree with the patient or with the client what their priorities are as they see them to be. And they can be anything. And so when the priorities are determined, we sign off that first session. They come back to the second session ready to start on to put it brutally, I suppose, a renovation program. The significance of neuroscience today says that the best of our performances come from the front of our brain, and the worry circuits and the thoughts and the feelings and emotions and the anxieties and depressions come from the middle of the brain. So I train them to use their mind in the front of their brain to get out of that horrible feeling, the worry circuit and emotional salience, which traps them in bed, traps them in the car, traps them in tears, and eventually can trap them into life and death situations. So I'm very conscious of what I'm doing, and I've always, since I learned as a kid teaching phys ed and sports psychology, that it's only performance-driven outcomes that really tells the tale, and that's what I'm after with them. And they achieve their goals. I mean, they actually do go through it, and the cognitive behaviour element is their awareness of themselves. It starts off with an awareness of the world around them, which is called mindfulness, and that's big these days. It perhaps used to be called meditation. But what then comes clear into their mind is the nature and behaviour of themselves as an individual. And the clearer that can become, the more behaviour sets we can develop that they can mentally rehearse and that they can go out and perform. That was no different with the A-League footballers I worked with at Carlton Football Club. If they couldn't do it in their mind before they hit the ground, they weren't going to perform it on the ground. And the same thing happened with the crew of Australia too. If they couldn't do it lying in the gym before they got their crew positions in the 12-metre yacht, Australia too, then they didn't sail the boat as fast as they could go. Down to earth, it's a tradesman's approach, Craig. No mysteries.
I can relate to that, Lawrence. I can relate to that.
Tradesman's approach.
It's so most people. I think if it's the way you've sort of, with all due respect, simplified it there, I think it's a really easy process to guys to go through, and you've outlined that, Robin. Really, really easy process.
Really simple.
And there's no stigma related to this, because you don't have to be. You make a really good point, and I really want guys to listen to this. You do not have to be in crisis to get a mental health plan.
No.
You can just be feeling down and a little bit lost, and you can go and get one. Lawrence, I'm sure with your work at the Carlton Football Club in the late 70s and early 80s, and with the boys in the America's Cup victory, you would have seen so many changes throughout men and the way they think about this sort of stuff to right now. We're talking, in excess of 40 years there.
Absolutely, 40 years, and I don't know how many patients that means I've seen, but I was doing say 10 and 12 a day, 6 days a week at some stages. So there's a lot of material, a lot of experience, and a lot of background to what I choose to do. When they come to me, they come to the guy in applied psychology, being as modest as I am, with the biggest toolbox in the business. There's no big toolbox than mine.
I can relate to toolboxes as well, Lawrence.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, so I think that's great. I think there's been a huge change in men's ability to talk about mental health.
Right.
And this process that you guys are talking about and what you are offering to our members is nothing short of sensational. And we are so proud at 100 Words Mate to Mate to have you guys on board and to be giving this service to our members. It sounds really, really simple in which to do. I was in a session the other day with Lawrence with a mate of mine who asked me to come in with him and sit with Lawrence as well. So I've seen it firsthand, and the confidence in which this friend of mine walked out with was extraordinary. He's a different beast already. So I've seen it firsthand, and I look to see it more often. Now, mate,
it's incremental learning, Craig. I never let anybody leave without feeling they've added, that they haven't added something to their cognitive behavioural awareness of themselves. They go away with a little bit extra that they can use and they can do for themselves. And let me make this point without getting into any controversy. When they write the history books, this will be the era where the males have become second to the female gender. And that worries me a bit. And so often it's men involved in family settings or relationship settings or trying to find a relationship setting, a whole lot of things. I understand that. I deal with that every day. And I'm pretty sure I can find a formula for an individual to make a difference as to how they can improve their effectiveness in dealing with that sort of challenge. They're never feeling alone when they're dealing with me.
Fantastic. Now, one of the other things I did notice too is when you did the session the other day, one of the things was, and this was really, really evident in this, if a physio said to you, these are the exercises you need to do every day, twice a day for the next 8 weeks to be able to play, folks would just do them. So you give a recording of the session and give them a 5 to 10 minute sort of mental exercise, brain training exercises for them to do every day. Can you talk us through that?
That's correct. What I've learned in my recent years in neuroscience is that you can train the mind to change the way the individual's brain operates. You can actually train the mind to change the way your brain operates. And that's literally laying down new neural pathways to behave more effectively. So the idea of my verbally scripted approach to cognitive behaviour therapy is not to hypnotise them, not to relax them until they go to sleep, not to send them unconscious, but to bring them through an altered state of consciousness so that they are really focused on the individual in them that they are to themselves. That independent mindedness and that independent strengthening is what I want them to deal with in their life once or twice a day, with simply listening to a voice recording that I recite to their mobile phone specifically for them. There's no 2 recordings that are the same because I've got their profile of individual differences in the front of my mind when I'm talking about what I want them to go away and do for themselves. That's the difference. It's not generalizing anything. It's individualizing everything. That works if you're going to teach a kid how to do a forward somersault on a trampoline, or get a yachty to do a better performance in the main sheet if he's on the main chair now, or a person who hasn't got a good relationship with the family setting who wants to improve his communication with his kids. It's the individual differences that are the greatest asset. And what happens with that is when they become aware of what their capabilities are and they understand their individual self, and verbal communication skills is a big part of being able to effect their individual self, then their independent mindedness, they're independent minded. They're not looking for their wife to say that she loves them to feel good for the week or for the day. They're not looking for the kids to say, "Hi, Daddy, how's your day?" They've got a sense of independent minds. Doesn't mean they're being isolated. It means they're being made independent. And independent mindedness, if you think about it, is the key to good mental health.
Absolutely. Now,
Robin, she's just sitting there. She's breathless.
I'm just listening.
Now, one of the things we talked about the other day is guys, this is how guys are generally, guys will say, "Oh, I've got my doctor, I've got my mechanic, he's the best, I've got a butcher, he looks after me. When I'm injured, I've got a physio or a chiro. For my business, I've got a business coach or a life coach." There's nothing wrong with, like you, Lawrence, you're a mental health coach.
That's right. No, I've got a performance coach. There's nobody living on the surface of the earth that will not optimize their competencies without performing. So I'm responsible for you to get the best out of yourself as an individual by increasing your behavioural effectiveness to make you perform better. See, it's got nothing to do with mental illness or mental ill health. It's got everything to do with optimizing yourself as an individual and knowing that when you do feel it, elevates your whole sense of positive self-worth.
It's a really important message there. That's a really important message. I've written here, like, Tiger Woods has a mental health coach, Ash Barty, Roger Federer. If it's good enough for those people who are trying to get the most out of themselves every single day of their life, it's no different to any of us.
That's right. And they're my case studies that I model off in learning to do my profession at my best. I mean, I'm in this for my own professional excellence, not just for patient success. And so I'm interested in what is the best of the world's performers do and doing the best of themselves. And utilising that, like the guy going out and finding good feed for the cattle. I mean, the more I can understand what I'm dealing with, the better performance I put into the patients that I see. And it's black and white, it's down to earth. There's no big words. There's less words than tonight.
That's why we get along, Lawrence.
Yes, that's right. And that's where I come from. But I'm a Western suburbs lad. I don't have any.
That's why I just listen. I can't get a word in.
That's not true, Robin.
Now, Robin, you would have seen that many people over the duration come in, all different types of men, and you would
I've seen everyone.
There would be no, I'd imagine there would be no generalisation on the type of people that come in. It's just...
We've had everything from sports people, celebrities, builders, tradies, unemployed. You name it, we've probably seen them.
Grumpy old men.
Grumpy old men. Yeah, we've seen a few of them too.
We don't share notes because of confidentiality, but Robin knows what I deal with, and she knows how I deal with it, and she knows the outcomes of what I do with them because they do come out differently.
And Robin, you would have seen firsthand someone who's gone the journey with Lawrence and how much they will have changed as a person.
Absolutely. And I've seen them come back and say, I'm a different person. I've seen them recommend him to other mates, say, go see Lawrence. He's done amazing things for me. He's changed my life. And that's something that a lot of people can say. But to be able to offer that service is fantastic, to just offer that.
In the anonymity of suburbia, which means in normal suburban environments, it's not in rock and roll land, it's just a straightforward, down-to-earth service offered out of, whatever it is, 460 River Road, Forest Hill.
We're a GP office. We're not bells and whistles. There's no... You're in a psychologist office. You're walking into a normal GP building. There's no stigma. There's nothing. You just walk in. No one's going to judge you for being there.
Having been there, I can verify that. And that's the point, though, isn't it? Like you talk about, the different range of people. It's anyone and everyone who is affected by either mental health or motivation or lack of motivation or just trying to become a better person. This is the place to come to.
Yeah, that are affected by their world in the way it is at that time for them or the way it's been for a while. I start with guys that have been, in prison and had a really bad start in life, and I'm the first person that's really got to take any sort of notice of them, and I dig them out of that hole and get them on their way.
Lawrence, just going back to the America's Cup, what was and something that people can take out of tonight, what was the sort of the things you instilled in these guys that made them better at what they did? And what are some of the things you think men can do just on a daily basis to feel a bit better?
Yeah. I think the significance of the America's Cup in the way that it was eventually sailed and won, was that the crew had confidence in their capacity to continue to compete competitively, if you like. I've seen replays from many quarters over the years, and it'll probably be featured as part of the story from Netflix when that documentary eventually comes out about it all. But that was my role. My role was to keep these guys fresh mentally day in and day out for whatever it was, 18 months in Fremantle, in Port Phillip Bay and over in Newport, Rhode Island, so that every day they went to sea, they were competitive. And there were many, many races where they came from behind purely because of that mental factor. They concentrated longer than the opposition. They made less mistakes. They went for the opportunities when they arose. It's the very last race was the opportunity to get past Liberty when they came off the run line, and Australia too kept focused. let me tell you this quick story. As they mark round the top mark of that last race, the last top mark rounding they were doing, I was on the Black Swan, which is the big powerboat tender. And I was as close as, you know, like we are here, so to speak. And I looked very hard at these guys because they were something like 45 seconds down. And what I saw in every one of those guys' eyes was a complete commitment to concentrating on their job, complete commitment to concentrating on their work. They never took their eyes off it. They never looked across at the Black Swan. They never shrugged any shoulders. They never sort of, you know, looked as if there was, oh, well, we did our best. None of that. And it came as no surprise to me that that commitment on board that boat was the thing that made the difference. Their mental commitment to themselves and to the campaign to get the best out of themselves to the very last drop until the whole of that regatta was over. And that's how the story was told. And the biggest impression of the America's Cup for me was Dennis.
We've lost him.
Oh, he's gone.
Cut him off mid-sentence.
Gone. I think was that our producer sort of rounding him up? No, it would be. Lawrence's son is there, so he's of tech age. Shall we? Here we go.
And how shattered this guy was. Sorry, after 135 years, losing the America's Cup. So that was the big remembering factor that I have of the America's Cup. We killed Darth Vader.
Darth Vader. Now, mate, also, I can imagine working with some of the Carlton scallywags, shall we say, back in the late 70s, early 80s.
70s,
like you and I know guys like Kenny Sheldon.
Yeah, Bomber Sheldon, yeah.
Yeah, like Sheldo's an amazing man himself, and we'd love to have him on here in a few weeks if we could. Yeah. You know, so you've dealt with guys who are hard-ass blokes who this stuff, if you said to them, this is what we need to do, you would have got a lot of sort of kickback, I'd imagine. And do you find that a lot now, or is it just a totally different...
I don't know what the elite sports environment's like for AFL clubs now, but the sports psychologist is always on his mettle to prove his worth. You never get a free kick. You know, you're either there because you're doing a job that's been seen as worthwhile, or you're not there at all. And with the Carlton guys, it was a challenge for me, professionally and personally, to be good enough to be with them. Because believe you me, the culture of the 70s with those 3 premierships was they were good enough to be with each other, and nobody who came into that could be part of that tribe unless they proved themselves to the rest. And what was the one example of that, which was interesting out of Fitzroy? Frank Marcazzani. He was immediately nicknamed the Italian Stallion and was ostracised. And what did worse for him, he asked for Jezelenko's jumper. He hadn't earned his stripes at all. So, you know.
Not a good move.
You know, when those guys turn against you, you've got nothing going for you. But that's because they were wrapped in themselves. They were elite to the back teeth.
Now, one of the things that we talk about too here on 100 Words Mate to Mate, we're really, really big on, is self-awareness and self-help and picking up the signs of our mates who are struggling.
Yes, yes. Well, that's just another chapter of cognitive behaviour therapy. These are the things that I want my clients, these are the things I want your clients to get from me as a part of what I've got on offer for them, right? I want each and every one of them to have a greater depth of empathy, sympathy and understanding for other people, because that's an absolute fertile field of interaction. It's a fertile field of getting on with other people, you know, and you've got it 100%, and Robin has, and so on. So that empathy and sympathy for other people grows you as the individual. You know that. A sense of liking and being liked rather than being grumpy and disliked and brushed off. No, set out to be a good guy and, you know, make the first offer to be liked. I'm afraid being confident in yourself does matter. So that's where I push the world of confidence on them, but based on insightful intelligence. If you're an intelligent person, you're more than likely a confident person. There you are, Craig. That's exactly your profile. Being independent-minded, so that you don't take crap when it comes to a certain point. You stick your hand up and say, hey, you're Philip Goldust. I don't need to listen to you anymore. I want that to be part of the personality of any person that works with me. And having what you know, and which is very important, across the board in family and domestic violence and suicidal ideation, having an awareness of critical insights of the thoughts, feelings, and awarenesses of other people. Not just taking them on face value, actually asking the questions, delving a bit deeper, going around it another way. Insightfulness is the source of stopping suicide in other people. And having emotional intelligence, not being overwhelmed by their own emotions, getting their own emotions in order and putting them beside themselves or behind themselves so that they continue to vote effectively. They don't.
Bad thing to do, hurt your hand.
No, I've seen it. You know, they come in one week and next week they come in all plastered up. I lost it with the girlfriend.
Now,
There is always a method to my madness.
good. Now, we've got some questions here. How do I get the questions up again, Walt? Chat. All right. Here you go, Robin. This is from Luana. Robin seems very approachable and people would be at ease, and the fact she's the friendly first contact. There you go, Robin.
There you go. Hey.
Yeah, Robin, that's exactly right. Was that what you put in?
Is that my mum?
Now, someone here, Alana says she's sorry she's missed where Lawrence is. So,
Nice.
what's the address there, Robin?
So we're 490 Springvale Road, Forest Hill. Anyone who's in Melbourne, it's just near Channel 10.
Yeah, Hawthorne Road. You can't miss it.
So, or near Wobby's World, depending on where you grew up.
That'll bring back some memories for a lot of people. Robbie's World. What else we got here? From James. It was great to see today the AFL announced that even with 40% cut in its football business, the psych is the must roll at a footy club and cannot be cut. That's a really, really
Excellent news.
Of the AFL. They've obviously taken them out of the soft cap, and that's a really, really positive outcome.
And that coming across the board, I mean, it's a strange, unexpected consequence of this whole pandemic. The professional world of psychology, applied psychology, and prevention of mental illness has now become a mature science unto itself, which is very important. If we can look after the mental health of our population and our sporting population, then we've got everything else pretty organised in mind. It's the top of the tree.
Get another question here from Matt Wenham. What kind of strategies do you advise in dealing with anger, Lawrence?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. That's the emotional intelligence factor. You'll note that what I've done over time is box them all into little chicken boxes. So I've got a bit of categorization there, but that's the emotional intelligence. They would respond very well, although I can't do it here on this session, with a simple session of 5 deep breaths, slowly close your eyes and get into a state of mindfulness. That will always work for them.
Can I point out I use that on my children fairly regularly? It's a really universal solution, I mean, just to get them to stop.
Sure, but that's the general purpose of it. You know, this is the altered state of consciousness. Emotional lack of intelligence comes from the middle of the brain when you're more or less out of control. That's not going to get you anywhere. You've got to fire and wire the neurons in the front of your brain to be focused and strategic in the way you behave and the way you feel. And that's what, and if you want to know a genuine fact of mindfulness, if you do 5 deep breaths, close your eyes, and just listen, smell, taste, touch, and feel everything that's happening around you for 2 minutes a day, perhaps twice a day, you will never, in your old age, suffer dementia, Alzheimer's, or Parkinson's disease. And that's proven in neuroscience.
Wow. I tried that breathing technique the other day because I was losing my nana at work. And I actually tried that breathing in for 2 minutes, and it worked. My boy said to me, "What are you doing?" I'm just like, put my hand up. And yeah, I was different. And they said, whatever that was, just do it again.
Yeah, so what did you do next after that, Craig? What was the next thing you did after you got that 2 deep breaths?
I was just calmer. Yeah, I was legitimately calmer. And
went back to concentrating on the job you were doing and getting it right. That's the point.
I made a decision. I made the correct decision that I would have otherwise not have made, which is quite like me,
Yep.
to that, making a much better decision.
Yep.
That's right. That's
I
right.
had another couple of questions here, Lawrence. Is Lawrence only available via telehealth? No, you can go in and see the great man personally. And
Yes.
Robert, I've done it. It's easy.
Mm.
You would prefer to see them face to face?
I think you would get more out of your session. It will be much more beneficial if you come in.
Not just my head and shoulders. It looks good, you know.
And you are a very good-looking man, Lawrence, so they get the benefit of that.
That's all right, Craig.
Now, the other thing here is, it says here, does Lawrence work with children?
No.
Not at this stage, no. I'm choosing to stay with mature men. That's 18 years plus, male only. Purely because I think there's a high order need in that population. And I believe I'm good at it with adult males, 18 to 100. And that's why I want to spend a fair bit of my current and future life working with adult males.
Fantastic.
I'm a mature adult male myself, I suppose.
Just going back to the, sorry, it's just come up again, dealing the message from Matt in regard to the anger. Do you think medication can help? Meditation.
Meditation. Well, yes, it's another form of mindfulness, but I'd suggest that it's just not one shot fixes all. The development of your mindfulness is a major goal to achieve, you know, with me and the way we do it. You know, I'll be showing you some TED Talks and I'll be giving you some psychoeducation, and you'll know all about mindfulness. You'll learn about the 678 nuns in the European convent that donated their brains to autopsies, right? And at the end of their lives, when they went through those autopsies, not one of those nuns had any signs in their brains of Alzheimer's, dementia, or Parkinson's disease. And those diseases are a worldwide pandemic across the world now and will be forever because there's no cure.
Fantastic. Mate, another one from
go too deep, but you know, like if it's good enough for the nuns, it ought to be good enough for us, eh?
True. Another one from Luana here. It says, after tonight, I see mental health program in a whole new different light. Thank you so much. There isn't a human being who couldn't benefit from investing some time and effort into them mentally into themselves.
Absolutely.
That is so true. That goes back to my point before about having your own mechanic or a life coach or a physio.
Yep.
And it also shows how accessible this whole mental health program is for people as well. It's not stigmatized. It's not hard to access. It doesn't cost you anything. You're using your money. You've paid your taxes anyway. So you might as well get something from it.
Getting something for it. But also I take a challenge very, very personally, very professionally. I can deal with all comers. I'm not a selective disorder person. I don't just deal with bipolar or schizophrenia. You know, I'm happy to meet and greet and get involved with every single individual as an individual. And that down-to-earth approach, I believe, is what's most effective. There's a lot of mumbo-jumbo in applied psychology and in psychiatry, which is very, very diagnostically focused, and that's not the way forward. The unique feature of human beings is we're all absolute individuals, and if you seek for individual differences, the fruitful outcomes are unlimited.
Fantastic. Guys, thank you so much. It's one of the things, another one's come true. What happens after tonight when you are overbooked, Lawrence?
Oh, no, that's not going to be the case.
I'm a creative lady and I can create many appointments.
I'm an old dog for a hard road, and I'm fair dinkum about this. I couldn't be more fair dinkum about it. I started out teaching kids in school when I left high school, became a phys ed teacher. I'm up for it. I'll give it 100% and take all comers until I can't stand up. What do you think I'm in here having an operation for? So I can go harder and better. Robin knows that. I mean, Robin's
got 70 appointments a week she can book. So yeah. I'd love to be oversubscribed, but you know, we can fit 70 to 80 patients a week. So
we meet the mark. I mean, you need to meet the mark. I mean, the people have got to have the service. It's not a matter of being. And the other reason is, Craig, I'm competitive, so I reckon I'm probably one of the best at what I do, just like you.
Oh, mate, you've got me covered, buddy. You got me covered.
I don't pull the punches. I'm not out to, you know, but it is. It's a competitive profession, and if you reckon you're good at it, then go hard.
Absolutely, guys. The opportunity that you're giving our members is absolutely extraordinary. On behalf of myself, Matt, the producer, and all the boys at 100 Words and all the members at 100 Words, mate to mate, we are chuffed to have you guys on board. It's a really important part of what we do, looking after men, and this is a real vehicle for men to get behind. And the point that I want to make, and the point you made earlier, Robin, is you do not need to be at crisis point to get a mental health plan. It will take you 20 to 40 minutes to get one. Okay, you can get one for a variety of reasons. You don't have to be in a deep, dark place to go and get one. And there is so many benefits from getting one. So many benefits.
And you can get one every year for the rest of your life. And
that's exactly right. That's an unbelievable situation that we find ourselves in nowadays. So even more and more men through COVID require this service.
We're going through a complete disorientation phase, whether we like it or not. It's sort of like a psycho revolution. And this service that I'm offering and Robin's with me and offering and all the rest of it is a lifetime service. We don't want to see you for 6 sessions and never know you again.
Yeah.
I like getting to know the patients. It's always interesting. There's always a story. There's always a character. Yeah. And there's always something to look forward to seeing that person again, whether it's the nice chat or having a joke or, as you know, Craig, I like to hang it on certain people.
Yeah.
It depends on who it is.
Assertiveness and aggression. She's just in the middle. I could feel that. She knows what she's got.
The humour's free when you're going. The
humour's free, but that's all it's worth.
Guys, thank you so much again. As I said, on behalf of all of us here at 100 Words, an unbelievable service that you're supplying to our members for free.
Just quickly.
Yeah, go, Rob.
Anybody who's looking for the details, if you want a referral from your GP, we'll give Craig the details of what your referral needs to say, and he can pop them on the website.
Yep, we will do that first thing tomorrow morning.
Yep.
Yeah, and tell it as it is. Don't pull any punches.
We'll do.
I don't want any free kicks.
Lawrence,
look what I've been up to, Craig. Do I like a challenge or what?
You do, mate. You do. I know you do.
Give me something hard to do, or else I'm not interested.
Exactly right. And mate, I appreciate so much that you've, you're lying there in your sick bed doing this, and you didn't have to, and I really, really appreciate it. And Robin, you're an absolute star, and I couldn't be happier to have you guys on board. Thank you so much for your time.
Most welcome.
Absolutely my pleasure, mate. I told you from the day I met you, I'm 100% involved, and that's what I mean. You don't hear any less than that from me.
Fantastic. Guys, have a great night, and we will see you soon.
Sure will.
Oh, how lucky are we to have those guys on board. Absolutely huge what they are offering to our members. Now, next week's show, good friend of mine, Luke Nelson. He's an absolute star. He is a sports and exercise chiropractor. He's the president, no less, the president of Sports Chiro Australia, and he's the director of health and high performance. Absolute jet of a man. He is going to come in, not into the studio, but we will talk to him from home. He's an excellent young man, and I'm really looking forward to speaking to him next week. Now, as we do every week, we thank those who are helping us. Huge thanks to Splice Communications. Shelley Wood is an absolute jet. We love you, Shell. Everything you do for us, I say it every week, but I really, really mean it. To Matt at 61 Finance and Atlas Equipment Finance, thank you for everything you do for 100 Words and the effort in which you put in. And to a dear friend of mine, Mr. Brett Phillips, who runs the only nationwide tennis show in this country called The First Serve. Absolute fantastic man. Does a lot for the community and does a lot for us. So thank you very much. Next week, I can't remember the date, but next Tuesday, Talking with Turts, 8 o'clock. Now, this week, I want you to get on the phone at either 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night and ring your mate and ask him this. G'day, mate. How's your day been out of 10? Okay? Look forward to seeing you next week. I hope your week is a 10 out of 10. Love you. I'll see you later.